Debbie, I think your mum's in a care home. Talk to me, Debbie.
Yes, she's in the care home. She's been vaccinated twice, and now they wanted to have the booster and the flu jab, one in each arm, which I said, no way. She's not going to have both at once. Anyway, I'm in my late 60s. I haven't been vaccinated. And I really feel very angry that the staff are being forced to be vaccinated. A lot of those staff are young. There's no long-term trials on the vaccinations. OK, you've got the short-term. What about long-term implications for women that want to have children?
Well, let me start with you, if that's all right, Debbie. Your mum was double vaccinated.
Yeah.
What was it, or why was it that you, in effect, didn't stand in the way of that?
Well, she's not got dementia, so she was against my advice, because I'd said to her, "Don't you relied on your immune system the whole of your life? What do you need this experimental vaccine for?" How
old's your mum, Debbie?
She's nearly 90.
Oh well, it's like the great generation, as I like to call them, that great generation. You said to her that it was wise not to, and she sounds like in my view, a bright woman. What was it that she said to you?
She said to me, everybody else is having it, and she would feel that she would have pressure put on her. She didn't. So it's not that she really wanted it. She wanted to go with the flow, anything for an easy life. And care homes are getting pressure put on them, so they're putting pressure on the people that live in there, and half of them can't make their own decisions. The people that haven't got their own families, the decision's being taken for them anyway, and other people are kind of, oh, well, you know what I mean, if everyone else is having it, that kind of thing.
Debbie, help me out as well. What is it that your concern is? You said that you're 60 years old and you've chosen not to have the vaccine. In order to have made that determination, I'm confident you will have done a lot of reading and research and that sort of thing, and in order to respond to the various scientists who have come to their conclusion. Where are you doing your reading? Help me out.
Well, I followed a lot of doctors that are banned on the mainstream press. They're just as qualified as the ones that are being heard.
Who's that? Yeah, sure. Like who? Like who? I'm not cross-examining you. I like to learn. I want to know.
Yeah, Mike Yeadon. He was the next Pfizer president. Dr. Malone, who was one of the first people that developed the mRNA vaccines years ago, and various other people. I could name loads of them.
You're not on Twitter now, Debbie. I'm not shouting at you. I'm trying to hear in order to understand where you've come to your conclusions from. Yeah. I'd like to know who these people are. And what is it that your concern? And what is it that your concern is, Debbie?
The Bird Group that are trying to get ivermectin approved for youth because it's very good prophylactic. It treats it and it does for long COVID as well. All these treatments, you don't hear about them.
Help me out, but what is your worry? Do you believe... Sorry to interrupt you, Debbie. I'm interested in this. I'll be very clear. I'm in my 40s, despite looking considerably older, according to some people. People say I look like I'm 40 plus a bit of that. But Debbie, I did my research. I interviewed somebody who worked for Pfizer, and I felt confident in the science. Is there... another reason, what do you think is the long-term harm of this vaccine? Why is it that you must be worried about your future health? You must think that there's a problem.
Really. I just won't have it because I believe that if we're all going to listen to what we're told like that, that's the reason they're pushing it even more. And I'm more worried about the young ones than for myself. I'm seriously concerned about the long-term implications for women in particular with pregnancies, and also the health implications for younger men with a heart swelling and various other things. And there are things like Bell's palsy that people have been reporting, all kinds of neurodegenerative...
Debbie, can I ask you a question? Do you think the government and all of the scientists that have come to the conclusion that it's safe are telling porkies when they...
No, I think there's a lot of pressure being put on people.
No, that's people. No, but why is it... But Debbie...
Can I say something, please? The mRNA that have emergency licensed this vaccine, they get money from the people, the same people that are making the vaccine. There's money in it for people. That's why. There's money in this. There's always this sign, follow the money, and that's what I believe.
Well, that's what I'm driving at, Debbie, that you believe that this is what we would say, you believe this is a cynical ploy by the pharmaceutical companies to foist a vaccine on people in order for them to make profit, and that it's dangerous. And you say you're getting all of this information from the mainstream media. Well, my question then, Debbie, is important. There's lots of people that think like you. I happen to believe that you are dangerously wrong. But I want to know, do you think that the scientists that have come to these conclusions and the government who are supporting what they have to say and going around championing vaccines, why do you think they're doing it? Why do you think they're lying to us?
I think that I'm not saying they're all lying. I think
you are saying that, Debbie. You may not think that, but that's what you say.
They're misleading people because they're believing what they're being told by biased interests. People that are pushing it. I mean, for instance, Valence, he's got shares in one of the vaccine companies. Yeah, the people that are being funded by the Gates Foundation that own the Gates Foundation. Google have got shares in the vaccine, and they're all pushing it, and they even give money to the mRNA, which is authorised.
Do you mean the MHRA? I think you do, the Medicines and Health Authority.
Yeah, sorry, MHRA.
That's all right, Debbie.
Health regulatory.
Right. So I'm trying to. Do you see? I'm trying to help to understand you. So basically, the Gates Foundation, all of these, which is a charitable organisation, a not-for-profit organisation, they've got a vested interest in giving people. Just pause for a second. I listened to you, Debbie. Giving people potentially dangerous vaccines in order to make money. That's really what it's about, is it, Debbie?
It's not a matter of that. It's a matter of that they've got conflict of interest. They've got investments in vaccines, and also they're pushing. They're funding the authority that is saying it's okay to have it without the long-term trials. Usually, vaccines go through at least 10 years. There hasn't been that amount of trials with these vaccines. There's been, a few years? And when they did them in animals, the mRNA vaccines, all the animals died. They had a bad reaction when they came against the actual virus at a later date. Initially, they were fine.
Debbie, I'm going to stop you now because I have to go to Dave. Listen, what I've done is try to listen and hear you out. There's lots of so-called platforms that are really publishers that would have banned what you had to say. Just to be clear, I think that Debbie, you're wrong in just about every conceivable way, and I think the science that you're espousing is wrong. I think it emanates from conspiracy theories, many of which emanate from places which are deeply dangerous and do serious health violence to especially the most vulnerable. But at the same time, I also think, Debbie, you're entitled to air your opinion and to have a discussion. And that's what we're doing here as we go to Dave, I think. Dave, talk to me.
Hello, Your Honour. How are you?
I'm very well today. How's things down in Southend?
It was fine up until I heard your remarks about the vaccine, which obviously really cheeses a lot of people off.
It does,
in whatever camp you're in.
Yeah.
So your camp is your camp. My camp is the opposite, I've got to say.
We can be camped together, Dave.
Yeah, well, you can be camped together if that's...
Yeah.
All right. Debbie, wonderful lady. I'm all with her.
Right.
Right, let's get down to the nuts and bolts of this.
Go on then.
Your Honour, what you said was totally unacceptable as far as I'm concerned, and that's all I'm interested in, okay? What you said about the care home staff is disgraceful.
Not all of it. Just wait a second, Dave. I'm going to stop you. As we would say, talking for a second, I thank the care staff. I think what you're referring to, I want to help you to make sure that we're curating this conversation properly. What you're saying is that that care workers what you're saying, care workers should not be forced to be vaccinated. That's your concern, right?
Well, if you allow me, Your Honour, to say what I want to say, then you'll get my drift. The fact is, it's a disgrace. You're banging on about China and whatever.
All right.
We've got a government that is acting no differently than China, than forcing a person who's working in an industry to take a medical procedure against their will now, or lose their job. Now, your relative, I forgot what you said, father or father-in-law, whatever.
Granddad.
It was all right for these people to look after him for you, so you could go about your life. But all of a sudden, you're banging on about they should have a vaccine to carry on looking after him or whoever it was. But up until this point, they've been doing all these dirty jobs so that you can go about your life. But now it's not good enough. These people are fantastic people. They do all the disgusting jobs that need to be done to keep a person of that age, keep them going in life. Right. We should not be banging on about forcing these people to do it. If people, what happens to the people who are residents that are not taking the vaccine? Are you going to say they should be thrown out?
Dave, can I help you? I think this is important. You know, if you were sitting in my chair,
help about you.
No, Dave. Seriously, Dave. Listen to me. Don't shout disgrace, Dave. Let's have a conversation. We don't have to shout at each other. Just imagine for a second I'm in your room having a cup of tea. We might even be able to agree on bits of things. Why shouldn't we? Why I say help you? I'm not patronising you. If you were sitting in my chambers, I'd be thinking about the case you want to make, and I'd be asking myself, how can we make that in a more effective way? And Dave, do hear me out for a second. 2 ears and 1 gob. This is important. What you're saying is not a bad point. It's an important one, and I want to reflect on it. You know, what you're saying is that the bankers, what you're saying is people that do other jobs, which are the jobs that perhaps are the most remunerative. That's posh for saying they get the most money. They aren't being forced to take 2 vaccines. Now, the reality is that's not entirely the case. There are businesses across the world who are making it quite clear that as a condition of employment, people will need to be vaccinated in order to come to work. That's the first point I would respond to you. But you would say this, that often it is the poorest, the people with the least power who are doing the most challenging, difficult jobs, including care. And who are we in power to force them to do anything in order to do that work? It's always the least powerful who are the most forced. And I hear that point, Dave. And it would only make sense, Dave, wouldn't it, if I was prepared to say that everybody, as a condition of employment, an employer should be able to say that in order to enter the workplace, you have to be double vaccinated. That would be the only consistent argument I can make, right, Dave?
Explain to me why your views are that people have to be vaccinated to work.
Right, so it's a really important point. And in my view, it depends on the nature of the work that a person is doing. Let me give you an example. It's quite the same thing. The other week, I had to do a piece of work. It was actually on a boat. But more about that in due course as we come into the next few hours. And a number of people on board were vulnerable because of the age of the people who were on that boat. Now, because of that, it was a condition of getting on the boat that everybody was double vaccinated, because it didn't cure the risk, but it significantly reduced the risk of transmission of the coronavirus. And it struck me in those circumstances that it was a common sense approach to require people to have the vaccine, bearing in mind the serious health implications in the event that the virus found itself on board that boat. And in care homes where the risk is so great, it strikes me in circumstances, you've got to take a common sense view as a reasonable precondition of employment that people do have the double vaccine because it reduces the risk that the elderly, who those great people you are referring to and with whom I agree with you about, are going to spread that virus that will kill the people in those care homes. That seems to me a reasonable thing to say. Thank you for your call, Dave.